Um, my name is Jane Hunt, and I'm the Director of Education for Education Projects. And we are partnering today with the Ohio Department of Education to present this virtual lesson, as well as partnering with the Ohio Soybean Council and GrowNextGen.org. So we are happy to be here as part of that Feed and Fuel Your Career series. So this is our first virtual lesson, so we're glad you came along. First off, I just want to have you think about the connections between science that you're learning in school and agriculture in the state of Ohio. I'm not sure if everyone knows this, but Ohio, the first #1 industry in Ohio is agriculture. And we rank in the top 10 in production of soybeans, corn, chickens, eggs. So we have a lot of food production going on here, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that next week. But we're also home to a lot of food science and food companies. So think about Smucker's or Campbell's or Nestle's. All of them have headquarters here in the state of Ohio. So today what we're planning to do is talk to you a little bit about food labels and what you can learn about food labels as you are looking at labels, and also what we bring to that description of food labels. So if you would like to follow along, there is a lesson that is on GrowNextGen.org, and it's called Let's Eat. And these two brief activities we're going to do today are in the first unit on the introduction, all about food science. So when you think about things that are related here to food science and going to the grocery store, you might think about, trying to figure out what is in that food and why do we care? So we're always looking for healthy alternatives and flavorful alternatives, right? So what I thought we'd start with today is to look at an actual food label. And this food label I'm going to show you may or may not seem exciting to you, but it's a family pack of fajitas. This is one of my favorite ways to have a sandwich. So if you look at this, I'm going to give you about a minute to think about or name all of the things that you can related to what do you see? What information is given to you on this food label? So at about 30 seconds, I'll turn it over. But right now, we'll just look at the front. Ready? Go. And teachers, maybe you're keeping track, or maybe they're writing things down on a piece of paper, but that was 30 seconds. So we have quite a few things probably you were able to figure out from the front. Let's turn it over, and then we'll talk a little bit more about what it is you're finding out. So we'll start the timer again. So here we go. 30 seconds to look at the back. What information does it tell you? I'm not sure if I can zoom it in any farther, so you may have trouble. And stop. Somebody said there's no audio. Are you? To all participants. So I'm going to send out a message. I got a piece that says that there's no audio, but Nigel says there is. Okay. Are we good? I hope. Okay. Okay, great. I'm sorry. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me before we get too far into the lesson. So you have a minute to look at this food label. And food labels all share some common characteristics. Hopefully that made sense to you and you figured that out as you were looking. And if I switch the camera here, so we can talk about different things that are on that food label, like maybe you found the brand name, maybe you found the description, something about the size of the package. Maybe in this case, it says family pack, but it also says how much is in there, the volume. I guess I really should be showing you the picture again, rather than talking about it without seeing it. It talks about how many milligrams of cholesterol there are. Well, cholesterol is something that people are thinking about in terms of health, right? Cholesterol can impact people's health, especially if they have heart issues. Lots of different little pieces over here about calories, and more of that will be on the back on the nutrition label. And again, 0 grams of trans fat, which is also a big health issue right now, and 20 of them are in this family pack. So if we turn it over to the back, there is, again, some additional information. So usually this is where you're going to find how to prepare whatever the food is, and the nutrition label and the nutrition facts. This ingredient list also tells you a little bit more about what's in that product. And I don't know if everybody knows this, but the first ingredient is the largest in terms of volume or mass that's in that food product. And then of course our barcode, which helps grocery stores kind of stay in tune with what kinds of things they're putting together for us, and how they have to increase or change their inventory. So I want to share just a real quick piece on the on food labels themselves. Sorry, lost my place there for a second. So I'm going to share my screen again. So we'll go to a deck where you can see that. So I want to also have a shout out to Mark Starkey, who is at Western Reserve High School. He actually got us started on this presentation. So I want to say thank you to Mark. I don't know if he's out there watching today, but I do think it's been very helpful to have this piece. I'm going to turn off my document camera, just so that's not, well, there. Okay, so reading a food label is something that we obviously just did, right? Well, there are some requirements. So federal agencies kind of weigh in here. So we got the Federal Drug Administration, USDA. If you're talking about fish or meat, you've got grading, like grade A meat, that kind of thing. So there are lots of different groups that are involved in this. Also, it changes. I don't know, you can go home and ask your parents what used to be on labels that they ever took a look at, but now there are new standards, and new standards are coming out all the time because science is ever changing. So we get different information about what we need to include based on new science and new science requirements. It's helpful for people, especially if they have issues like, as I mentioned before, heart disease. You want to have low saturated fats, low cholesterol. People who have high blood pressure want low sodium. So lots of different reasons why we have these regulations. And the most recent one just went into effect in January of 2020. So what's new in that one? Well, it talks a little bit about how just the typeface needs to change. The calories need to be more emphasized, and just different things there on there, like there are different added sugars, et cetera, et cetera. So lots of different pieces a food company has to go through to make sure that they're following these regulations. The first thing you generally see and are attracted to are these principal display panels. So in our case, it was pretty bland. It was a Meyer generic brand, but here's Tostitos, and they're making you want to eat their product because they've got bright colors and a fun logo. This is a great place for people to think about careers, because marketing and art and graphic design all go into this kind of label making. Then there's an information panel, and we talked a little bit about that. It has to be FDA compliant, has to have the name of the packer or the distributor on it, like where did your food come from? So you should be able to find that when you look at labels on your own. Your ingredients and any kind of allergens that might be in there. Those are really important things for consumers, obviously. But some things aren't covered by this regulation. So we've got food service products. Of course, if you go to a restaurant, sometimes you'll get the calorie counts from restaurants, but not very often. Foods that are served for immediate consumption. So if you go up to a food truck and you get a food item, that doesn't have to have a food label on it. Specialized foods for certain diseases clearly need to be marked. And obviously our fresh produce doesn't really have calorie counts or anything like that on it. The nutrition facts, you know, obviously those are really important things. There's a serving size in there. There's the number of servings in the container. So if you get that little pint of Jenny's ice cream or Grater's or any of your favorite brands, you definitely don't want to eat the whole pint, because that's usually about 2 or 3, maybe sometimes 4 servings. But then they have a % daily value as well. But obviously adolescents are eating at a higher calorie rate than a 2,000 calorie diet for the most part. Then there's some other parts of the label, and this is where you can get creative. You can have all kinds of different things on here. This one you can see, it says it's a non-GMO certified product, and lots of different other pieces there. Naturally gluten-free, well, that's true because nuts don't have gluten in them. So sometimes this is a great opportunity for them to use their marketing claims. And then again, health claims, and I just mentioned that some things that are labeled gluten-free never had gluten in them, and many items that are labeled non-GMO have no GMO equivalent. I don't know, this number may be surprising to you, but only about 11, there are only 11 GMO crops that are commercially available in the United States. So if you find GM-free or non-GMO cashews, not on the list to have a genetic modified alternative. So just kind of be aware of how marketing is being used in these things. Obviously, we are looking for variety, balance, moderation, healthy diets, right? Again, high-fat foods are okay as long as that's not the balance or the majority of your diet. So here's just a little exercise if you want to try it. Here's a nutrition fact label, and then here are some questions. So if we take a minute to just go through these. Number 1, how big is a serving? Number 2, how many servings are there? Number 3, if I eat half the can, how many calories will I eat? What is the % of calories from fat? And is this a good source of vitamin A? So I'm going to let you guys kind of discuss those things. I'm not sure if people are participating in the chat or not, but I'll give you about a minute to finish those. Any questions about any of those things? If you have a question, you can put it in the chat or you can put it in the Q&A. And so far, I don't see anybody doing that. So we're just going to move right along. So this next portion is available, as I said, on grownextgen.org. And what I had asked teachers and students to be prepared with is either 3 or 5 different food labels. So I have 5 here. So if you haven't been able to do that or you don't have those things at hand, we can show you them and then we can go through this activity. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at or think about healthy foods. Okay, so we all have an idea in our heads about what is healthy, or might be different than what our parents have in their heads about what is healthy. But what I'm going to show you, if you have the labels yourself, you can put your labels in order from most healthy all the way to least healthy. So try to rank order the 5 different food things that you have in those terms. So I'm going to stop my share and I'm going to put my labels here. If I can, oops, well, if you push the right button, that helps. So I'm going to show these labels again under our document camera. So we have the fajitas, that's one of our labels. We have this Bertolli Italian sausage and rigatoni frozen dinner. We have another, you can see the kinds of foods I eat, cafe steamers beef teriyaki. These might be familiar, I don't know, Cliff Bars, kids flavored or kids formulated Cliff Bars. And then this last one is Blue Bunny mini ice cream cones, which again, one of my favorites. So if you look at those 5, let's rank order those, or the 5 that you have with you, rank order those in terms of healthy versus not so much. So you've got to look around, you know, you've got to look at the labels, you've got to think about what it is that is in there in terms of your macromolecules. That's another big thing. Macromolecules, proteins, carbohydrates, fats. And again, you need a healthy balance of those. You can't just not eat any fat. That's not good for your brain. You can't just only eat protein because it's difficult to get energy out of just proteins. I know there's a lot of diets out there right now that are kind of looking at those focusing on particular ones, but we definitely need a healthy balance of different items. So once you've rank ordered your materials, your 5 labels, in terms of healthy versus unhealthy, what are the things that you thought about that make the one more healthy than the other? So it might be calories. It might be balance, like I was just saying about you get protein, carbohydrates, and fats, but it's in the right balance, the right amounts. It might be green, you know, maybe more vitamins in one versus another, that kind of thing. So take a minute to jot down even a little bit of, what do I want to say? Just a little bit about your definition of healthy. And if you printed off the materials, there's actually a space for it on that second page. Now, your definition might be different than someone else's. So that's another piece is to kind of think about is, you know, and your arrangement of labels might be different than someone else's. So I kind of waffled between whether my Italian sausage and rigatoni was more healthy than my cafe steamers. Why do you think that the cafe steamers might be more healthy? It's got some green stuff in there. We've got some green vegetables. So maybe that makes it more healthy. Whereas in the Bertolli, I only have tomatoes in there. It doesn't really look, maybe there might be some peppers, bell peppers, but you know, we're all, a lot of times green vegetables are the things that people find to be more healthy. So maybe it would go this way, right? And then these other things, the Z bar is, well, it might be kind of high calorie, and it's banana and chocolate peanut butter. Awesome. These blue bunnies probably should have been at the end because again, It's not that I can't eat those, but I probably shouldn't eat those every day or every meal, after every meal, or instead of a meal, right? Okay, so we did healthy. Do you have a somewhat feeling of your definition for healthy? The next organization we're going to do, we're going to rank order them in terms of natural versus less than natural. So natural in terms of what is the most natural out of this group to least natural. Okay? So take a minute if you have labels to do that. I'm thinking. So yeah, I'm kind of more struggling on the natural thing. I think a lot of it depends on what your definition of natural product is. We've got obviously this is beef strips. You've got a natural kind of thing, but they were already cooked before they were put in here, right? So they had to be processed, and then you're just steaming them, cooking them a little bit to reheat them. So there was probably some technology used here to freeze those in a way that would keep them fresh. There might be some preservatives, but look, it says no preservatives. So again, at least this could be considered a pretty close to fresh product, just frozen, packaged, so that then I can bring it home and it's very convenient. So that one is probably going to be the one that I think is most natural of the 5. Now, obviously, there are way more natural products. Like if you have an apple, I would say that'd be the most natural product. If you have a vegetable, those are going to be natural, right? That might be on your list. Depends on what else you have, I guess. This one, the Z-bar, why, anybody know why I might think that that would be natural? I mean, it says up here, organic whole grains. You might not be able to see that. Also says made with real peanut butter. So those two things, although peanut butter is processed, it is real from peanuts. So we don't know that that peanut butter didn't have any other things in there, but it does say that it's banana filled with chocolate peanut butter and other natural flavors. So already it says it's natural, right? Well, the issue with natural is that there is no USDA definition of natural. Of course, then I went down the line. I said then the Italian sausage and rigatoni, which you could probably argue is pretty similar to the rice in the cafe steamer, but that the noodles have to be processed to be made from grains, right? And these fajitas would have to be processed. And then these, it says vanilla with other natural flavors, but it's sugar cone. Again, something had to be processed. It was dipped in chocolate, then it was frozen. So anyway, lots of different reasons why I might say that these are the least natural. Okay. Making sense? Natural is, again, you're going to have to figure out what your definition of natural is to help you make these decisions. Okay. Next one is which are genetically modified and which are not. So take a look and see what you think. And I did give you a list of those genetically modified crops. So take a look at your ingredient labels to see if maybe any of those ingredients seem like they're genetically modified. All right, we have two piles this time, genetically modified or not. So this one says it's USDA organic, non-GMO. And because it has this label, not this label, but because it has this USDA organic label on it, that's how I know it's not genetically modified. The USDA will only put that label for organic on something that has no genetically modified ingredients. Okay? All the rest of these may, I don't know for sure, but they may have some genetically modified ingredients. This one has corn syrup, and soybean oil. And we said both corn and soy. Now, not all corn and soy, and not all food grade corn and soy have been genetically modified, but most have. So this is maybe a good bet that there might be some ingredient that was originally genetically modified, but by the time you process it, the corn syrup has no DNA that is different than any other corn, and the soy has no DNA in it that's different than any other soy. But if we're going to really just go with what might be genetically modified and what might not, this may be genetically modified. This one also has soybean oil in it. You'll be surprised once you start looking at labels how many different labels and ingredients include soybean oil. This one also has soybean oil in it. And even this beef teriyaki, even though it looks like it's most natural, it has something in here I thought that could be considered. Well, now I'm not seeing it. Modified cornstarch could potentially, soy sauce, water, wheat, soybeans. So soy sauce is made from soybeans. Again, that doesn't mean that they do have genetically modified things in them, but because organic is nowhere on these labels, they might. Okay. Now, do you need to be concerned about that? Scientifically, all scientists are saying no. There is no need to think that a genetically modified crop that has ingredients has any difference in terms of nutrition or health. So that's something that you can be comforted by, I believe. And the last one is whether something is organic or not organic. So again, you got two piles. This one may be easy, at least it is for me, because the only one that was guaranteed to be non-GMO was the one that had this USDA organic label on it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that these other ones have genetic modification. So, but they're definitely not organically raised. Organic farmers are very dedicated to what they grow, and they have to do a lot of paperwork and follow a lot of guidelines in order to be considered organic farmers. So that really kind of folds up everything that I was going to present to you today. This is something that hopefully if you aren't able, if people want to show this again later, you can stop it and start it and get the gist of all of the pieces there. We understand that 1 o'clock in the afternoon is not necessarily a time when all classes start meeting. So we are appreciative of those folks who were able to come and join us. If anybody has questions they want to put in the chat or they want to put in the Q&A, I'm happy to stay on and answer any questions that you might have. I'm hopeful that you found something interesting and that you were able to use some of this information to help teach what you're teaching already in the regular science classroom. I'm not seeing any. Oh, there we go. Anybody with questions? Yeah. So a few reminders before I sign off. Please Be sure to check grownextgen.org for this lesson. It's in the unit called Let's Eat. And all the paperwork and the deck is there, so you can access all of that and use it in your regular classroom at any point. Also, I want to thank the Ohio Department of Education for partnering with the Ohio Soybean Council and GrowNextGen to put on this learning series. We will be continuing this series all 4 weeks of October, so we'll have 3 more weeks after this one. This week's theme was based on food science. So yesterday, if you missed it, we did a virtual field trip of Cargill. And today, then we had the food science lessons. Tomorrow, tune in for a career panel where food science, folks who have food science, careers in food science will be interviewed, and that will be live streamed at 1 o'clock as well. Next week, we're going to focus on food production. So there'll be a harvest VFT and a lesson on the challenges in food production, which will be on Wednesday, and a panel on ag business and the different aspects of agriculture and business and how they work in the state of Ohio. The third week is about sustainability. And sustainability, we will have a visit to a farm that's using a lot of sustainable practices. We'll be doing a lesson on soil health, and we'll be doing a career panel where we're talking to folks who actually work in those areas. The third week, the fourth week, can't count now. The fourth week is based on technology. And the technology in agriculture is second, maybe only to the military. So we'll have some interesting demos about what ways technology is being used. We'll do some yield prediction kinds of activities in the field where we can scout and actually make predictions about how much crop there will be bushel wise. And then we'll have a career panel with some up and coming high-tech folks who are really doing some great research in how to use technology and make farming even more efficient. So we welcome you back to all of those, and hope you enjoyed this lesson. And I'm gonna sign off for now. Thank you.